pills do you have to take in a day? How about a month? A year? Think of all the chemicals you're ingesting, all the potential side effects, all the time you're spending standing in line at the pharmacy, all of this adding up over the course of your entire lifetime, perhaps. On the other hand, psychedelic research has shown promising results in swapping these pills for guided psychedelic trips. This could mean potentially coming off these pills you're dependent on for days, months, maybe even indefinitely. This is obviously huge news, as so many of us are dependent on big pharma for our livelihoods. As a psychology student, I've been studying these issues of mental health as well as psychedelics. Because mental health issues are rising in the US, psychedelics should be legalized for their promising therapeutic remedies. To start off, mental health issues are taking a toll on the American people, and they're becoming more and more prevalent every day. Matthew Johnson in the International Review of Psychiatry says that, quote, psychiatry and society itself find itself faced with greater challenges than ever before. The US is facing epidemic rates of suicide and opioid addiction fatalities. These are behaviorally mediated problems, the turf of psychiatry. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, as shown in this graph, 1 out of 5 adults experience mental illness, and nearly 1 in 25 of these adults suffer from serious mental illness. We need a solution to combat these rising mental health issues, as mental health is equally as important as physical health. Research is being done on different types of therapies and remedies to combat these insane numbers. However, psychedelic research in particular is very limited for a number of reasons, despite how promising the results are from these studies. In order to fix the problem of rising mental illness, psychedelics should be legalized for therapeutic purposes across the country. Psychedelic research has showed promising rewards and results in their abilities to treat a variety of mental health issues, and I will go over a few. One example is how they've been used to treat cancer patients. According to Stephen Ross, quote, the most common psychiatric disorders in patients with cancer are depressive and anxiety spectrum disorders, as well as adjustment disorders. In his study with cancer patients, being treated with guided psychedelic sessions, he found that patients with these mental disorders saw quick and powerful improvements on their anxieties, depressions, and existential distress. Another example is how they've been used to treat people with eating disorders. LaFrance et al. Explained that, quote, ceremonial ayahuasca drinking shows promise in the healing of eating disorders and warrants further research. Ayahuasca is a psychedelic that has been used for hundreds of years, and mostly for ceremonial therapeutic purposes, and it's shown great results among many populations. The conclusion from these studies was that, quote, some individuals reported experiencing relief and in some cases full remission from chronic eating disorder symptoms after participating in these ayahuasca ceremonies, which is a reason for optimism, especially the case of those individuals for whom normal eating disorder treatments have not been effective, end quote. Finally, psychedelics are really promising in treating mood disorders. Gary Enos explains that some studies have found that individuals' use of hallucinogens is related to higher levels of spirituality, which can lead to greater emotional stability and fewer symptoms of depression and anxiety. When people speak about their psychedelic experiences, many of them describe them as being one of the most important in their entire life. However, as of right now, psychedelics are still considered Schedule I drugs. This means that it's been extremely difficult to discover and harness their powers, despite the fact that many people are doing scientific research on them. Psychologist Adam Snyder explains that because these substances, quote, are in the public domain, they can't be patented, so the pharma companies won't research them. And there's many other ethical and legal hurdles involved, end quote. Because psychedelics are illegal, it's been almost impossible to do any real research on them. It's extremely hard for these scientists to get their hands on the permits and the permissions that are needed to do the research that they truly need to find out how to harness these drugs. If we were able to conduct more scientific research on psychedelics, then we would be able to learn crucial details about them and how they can be used for treatment. Obviously, psychedelics can have adverse effects and they can be abused, but this is no different from opiates, alcohol, so many of the other legal substances that are out there. If psychedelics were legalized for therapeutic purposes, then they could be explored, discovered, and regulated so that they could be safely harnessed. It is crucial that psychedelics be legalized so that more research can be done to make widespread healing possible. Matthew Johnson states that, quote, "Not only might psychedelics provide robust efficacy across multiple disorders, they might also constitute breakthrough tools in taking psychiatry to the next level of understanding mechanistic commonalities across supposedly distinct disorders," end quote. This means that by studying psychedelics and their effect on the brain, we can better understand mental illness and their effects on the brain, as the two go hand in hand and can tie in together. It's clear that legalizing psychedelics will not only help us treat a variety of mental disorders, but will also help us better understand them and thus better understand ourselves. In summation, it can be seen how psychedelic therapy could play a key role in decreasing our alarming rates of mental disorders in the US. If psychedelics were legalized, we would finally be able to start conducting the research that we need to harness the amazing powers of these medicines. They're out there and they're available, but there's not much we can do about it until they are legalized. And once they are, we will become one step closer to understanding this plethora of mental issues that are plaguing the US. Let us take a trip to wellness by legalizing psychedelics for therapy as soon as possible. Thank you.